Hello, my name's Kara, and I'm a reference librarian here at the Plainfield Public Library. I wanted to talk a little bit about my two favorite books about Abraham Lincoln. One is nonfiction and the other is fiction. The first one I'm excited to talk about is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter by Seth Grahame-Smith. As a struggling writer, Seth Grahame-Smith spends most of his time working as a clerk in a small-town dime store. His contact with regular customer Henry is limited to small talk. That is, until the day he drops a package by with instructions to open only after he is gone. What Graham discovers in the package is a journal written in the hand of none other than the former president himself, Abraham Lincoln, and the whole rest of the novel is those journal entries. We all know that Honest Abe was a man of law, advocate for abolishing slavery, and our nation's 16th president. However, little of you may know the vast amount of time he spent as a vampire hunter. The novel begins with Abe's humble upbringings on a Kentucky farm. Shortly after his mother's untimely death, Lincoln learns that she did not actually die from spoiled milk, but at the hands of a vampire who Abe's father was financially indebted to and who he was not able to repay his loan. From this day forward, Abe vowed to himself that he would avenge his mother's death by killing vampires. He spent days training in the woods by his house, sharpening his axe and building strength so he would be prepared to best his opponent. On one such night, when he was out hunting vampires, he was caught off guard by a particularly savvy demon, but was thankfully rescued by a man who called himself Henry Sturgis. Henry kept Abe in his cabin under restraint until he was healed and rehabilitated. He then revealed that he is a vampire who wishes for Abe to kill others of his kind who are causing evil wrongdoings in the world. For the next 20 years, Abe received letters from Henry with the name of the next vampire that should be killed. The novel really follows Abe's factual history, from his time as a partner in a Springfield law firm, to his seat at the Senate, to his presidency. The only difference is the new knowledge of his hobby as a vampire hunter. I love anything about Lincoln, and I reveled in this interesting story about our fascinating president with vampire madness as added fun. Whether or not you are a history buff or a vampire fan, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter should please just about anyone. The next book I'm going to talk about is a work of nonfiction called Manhunt, The 12-Day Chase for Lincoln's Killer by James Swanson. Attorney and historian James L. Swanson has meticulously researched the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln and the hunt for his killer, the handsome thespian James Wilkes Booth. But what you expect as a historical work of nonfiction reads much like the works of the best suspense novels. Swanson details how Booth both plotted and carried out Lincoln's murder. There are so many interesting events that took place that I don't ever recall learning in any history class when I was in school. For example, Booth's assassination plot included the assassination of Vice President at the time, Andrew Johnson, and Secretary of State, William Seward. One of Booth's co-conspirators, Lewis Powell, did attempt to kill Seward by fatal stab wounds, but Seward survived. George Atzerodt chickened out and did not go through with the planned assassination of Johnson. Even more interesting is that Booth escaped Ford's Theater and was able to avoid being caught for 12 days. He relied on the good faith of Confederates who took him in and even hid in a pine thicket for several days with his friend and co-conspirator David Harold. Despite having a severely broken leg and being deprived of any conveniences, Booth was most concerned with wanting to obtain newspapers to read about his daring murder of President Lincoln. He was a true thespian caught up entirely in the drama of this horrific event. These are but a few examples of the detailed history you will learn about in Manhunt. Don't be misled by the fact that this is a work of history, because it reads much like the fast-paced stories of James Patterson or Linwood Barclay.